Drama on the highway in KwaZulu-Natal today. 5 suspected robbers killed during a shootout with police in KwaZulu-Natal. 2 suspects critically injured, 1 sustained minor injuries. Now, the group allegedly had robbed a mall in Empangeni and also held a security guard at gunpoint. The police and private security personnel intercepted the group along the N2 in Durban. And our senior reporter Dessen Thathia joins us now. So Dessen, really quite dramatic. And we've seen some of the footage, I think, from outside the mall. Why don't you just track the journey of this gang? What happened this morning in Empangeni? How did it end up in this bloody shootout on the N2?
Well, dramatic is definitely the word here, Sal. And I think just for context, I'll explain to our viewers what the distance is like. So between the point where the shootout happened and the mall itself, that's about plus or minus 100 kilometers, if not more. So it was a long distance that these alleged robbers traveled from the mall that they had robbed in the morning. And they'd started there quite early. I looked at the CCTV footage and it said that, it read about 5:23 around the time that they were walking into that mall. They smashed the front glass, they got in there, there were security guards in there. During the time that they spent at the mall, they managed to get into a few shops, mostly stealing items like blankets and clothing, as well as cell phones. And they got those into 2 vehicles and they managed to get on their way. But obviously, the security that were stationed there, they raised the alarm. So right at the onset, you already had security officials on their tails. But during the period from Empangeni all the way down to Tongaat, that's when the network really came into play. That's the security network I'm talking about. Police and other private security companies, Marshall Security, IPSS, and others were there. They all got involved and ultimately ended up confronting these robbers near the Tongaat toll. And that's where you saw the shootout that happened. And one of those vehicles in Etios was off the road, the other VW Polo off the road. I had an opportunity to speak to one of the security officers that was involved in that chase, Kumlani Vezi. Let's listen into what he had to say to them.
We received information about business robbery, Sanlam Center in Empangeni. Description of the vehicles that were involved in a business armed robbery were given to us. And from that time, we started to respond. As we were responding, we on the lookout for vehicles that with the description that was given to us. As we were driving, we spotted 2 vehicles, which was a Polo and Etios, and we started to communicate and chase the vehicles. It was a speed chase all the way on N2 towards Durban, where we managed to intercept the vehicle. As we were trying to stop the vehicles, the suspects started to shoot at us. And because we are trained and professional, we shot back.
And of course, that shootout led to 5 of the suspects being shot dead, 2 critically injured, 1 with minor injuries. That's information we have. I mean, obviously, you'll give us an update. But as you tell us more about what you know about these suspects and other robberies they might have been involved in, I want us to look at the visuals again, because it's quite astonishing. They're just carrying a load of goods towards the car. They're just loading up this car, and we're going to keep the footage rolling. What's fascinating about it is they don't seem to be in too much of a rush. I think you did mention it was quite early in the morning, but what's interesting is to see just towards the end, as they're about to leave, the man with the red jacket, I think is a security guard, he picks up that dustbin and he throws it at the back of the car, obviously trying to stop them, which frankly I think is really, really brave. So tell me a little bit more about these suspects. Who are they believed to be?
That's right, Sal. In fact, I think many people who watched that footage, I guess they were saying the same thing. What was he thinking at the end? But I imagine that when you are faced with a situation like that, you don't really know what would go through your mind. Speaking of the suspect now, I mean, police telling us that they found at least 3 guns in those vehicles that had gone off the side of the road. So clearly that's an indication that they were armed. We are also told that they were involved in a number of robberies. But interestingly, it's not just in the Empangeni area. And I told you how far away from Durban that is. It's a significant distance. But they are also trying to, or rather police are trying to link them to other crimes that have been taking place in Durban. The sources have been telling us that they are possibly linked to the break-ins at car dealerships around here, other business robberies. There have been a number of those items like computers and other things being stolen. And this gang then are supposedly linked to those crimes. I think we'll have a clearer picture once these investigations are finalized. I mean, that was happening, or rather forensic teams and that was so busy until quite late in the afternoon at those two scenes. But I also had an opportunity to speak to the SAPS. The last a bit of information that they gave us was that those two suspects that were in hospital were still critically wounded, and the other one with minor injuries. But all three of them, to be clear on that, all three of them have been placed under arrest. And I guess when the other two suspects, if they do recover, will have to appear in court. But let's listen to what Brigadier Jay Naika had to say to us during an interview earlier.
The modus operandi they employ is similar to a lot of robberies that takes place in and around Durban and other parts of KZN, where they would go in and break into shops, hold up the security guards, steal whatever they can. In a lot of instances, they will steal computers, clothing, apparel, whatever they could find on the scene. On the scene, we found hammers, picks, and other objects that they use normally to break the windows of these stores to gain entry. So it would seem like they are an organized gang, and they can be linked to other crimes in the province.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that update, Dessen Thathia, our senior reporter in KwaZulu-Natal. Let's move now.